Every time I think that I'm done talking about the Lord of the Rings race swap issue with Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast seems to cast a spell to bring Billy Mays back from the graveyard, because wait, there's more! Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and let's get into this article about how they're now defending the Aragorn race swap and, of course, other race swaps in the new Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set. Now, this article does come from Bounding Into Comics, and you guys know how I feel about Bounding Into Comics. They are literally just the right-wing version of people like the Polygon and the Mary Sue and all these other ridiculous left-wing articles and outlets, but I feel like here they do sort of have a point, mainly because almost the entire article is them just paraphrasing what a different content creator said. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt because it is Bounding Into Comics, but this one's actually a pretty good article in my opinion. Magic the Gathering's Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth's senior art director defends the race swapping, because why wouldn't they? I mean, if they don't defend it, they're going to end up going the route of, Bud Light, Target, people who are going to start drawing ire from the other side. They really can't run the risk of, burning that side of the audience now, and not that they would to begin with, which is the WotC is one of the most mind-numbingly brain-dead left-leaning game companies out there to date. But Magic the Gathering's Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth's senior art director, Oviedo Cortegina, defended the game's race swapping of numerous characters. Speaking with NPR's James Perkins Mastromarino, Cortegina said, "At any given time, we are surrounded by diversity, and it's our hope in this world to someday get along and come together despite our differences." And you know what? He is right. At any point in time, we are surrounded by diversity. I have the opportunity to be on an incredible panel of individuals during a Saturday Night Hypnosis ran by our supreme leader, Hypnotic, and it's a very diverse panel. We got people of different races and genders and ethnicities and all this other stuff. You want to know what we do? Make fun of people who say we need diversity, because you can, believe it or not, naturally be diverse without shoving it down people's throats. Even Taika Waititi, one of the most left-leaning dudes in Hollywood, came out saying, yeah, we got a little bit crazy with this diversity stuff in one of the videos I showed on my recent episode of Countercast. He added, "It's also a message from us to fans of all walks of life. You're welcome here. You have a place here. You belong." Well, guess what? Fans already belonged. We belonged well before you started pushing this diversity crap, and fans will continue to belong long after it's, lost its luster. The shiny veneer has worn off, and people are going back to actually caring about the card game instead of your divisive politics that you bring in with them. Like I said before in plenty of other live streams, there weren't just a bunch of, white dudes at the gate of the local comic book shop being like, "Get out of here, black people, Magic the Gathering is a white man's game." YouTuber European Lore reacted to these comments from Cartagena saying, "So this is the same nonsense that all the huge companies have been talking about for the last couple of years. This is just a publicity stunt. This is just attention grabbing. This is just virtue signaling." And that's exactly what it is. For anyone that disagrees, because look, I am very open to individuals disagreeing with me. If you do not like my take on this Magic the Gathering debacle, if you feel like, hey, the representation does matter, Black Aragorn's the greatest thing to happen to Lord of the Rings since J.R.R. Tolkien first put pen to paper, then tell me, how is it anything more than these right here? A publicity stunt, attention grabbing, virtue signaling. How is it anything more than that? It's not like Magic the Gathering didn't already have diversity. Magic the Gathering had queer characters, characters of color. I mean, you tell me how this is not any of the above. It's so much of a publicity stunt because they can take characters that are very known for being white on account of, it's the Lord of the Rings, and race swap them. Race swapping arguably the single most famous fantasy IP of all time. I stress that every time I make a video about this. It's clearly a publicity stunt. They know it will get folks talking, but are you dumb enough to fall for it? That is the question. He continued, "I don't believe they are so stupid that they don't know that you don't need to make us unite. You don't need to unite fans." Yeah, exactly. Fans had already been united before you came. Fans had already been united before the Rings of Power came. Exactly. The Rings of Power, once again, was intentionally divisive because for some dumb reason, companies seem to think that division will increase sales, that putting people against one another and starting flame wars on Twitter will somehow make those magic dollar numbers go up, up, up. That's not how it works. Take a look at Target and Bud Light. He later noted, "If you're a fan of something, you will naturally unite and bond with people that like the same thing as you do. And it's the most important for you, in this particular context, that the other person shares your hobby, shares your passion, shares the things that you like, and you're bonding over things that you enjoy." Exactly. That's why when people like Kotaku try to make these arguments that, "Oh, men are so upset that women are getting into gaming," I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Men love women in gaming. It's something to bond over. Let me tell you, it's a whole lot easier for me to bond with my female friends about video games than it is about, how we we do our nails, because your boy doesn't do his nails, unless of course you count biting them. In that instance, I do my nails every day. My point is, when you have a shared common interest, it's very easy to bond. There ain't no gatekeeping 9 times out of 10 if people are coming in with a genuine love and passion for whatever they're wanting to be interested in. Everyone starts out as a normie or a noob at one point, but if they stick with it, guess what? They earn the respect of everyone around them, and your race, creed, color, none of that matters so long as you enjoy what you are passionate about. In this case, Magic the Gathering. European lore later reiterated it's just a publicity stunt to get more attention. Yeah, exactly. Here's Eowyn, Lady of Rohan. Notice the lack of very, very white skin. He would go on to address the race swapping. As a literature aficionado, I'm all about staying faithful to the source material. And there's another thing. All this changing characters into something they are not, those groups of people they are changing the characters to, that the characters resemble those groups, you're actually insulting them by this. I don't know who you are, literature lore or European lore, but my god, you are hitting the nail on the head. I don't know if you're one of us or not, but if you aren't, well, welcome to the team. You are now. By this, you're saying the group we were trying to pander to, you're not good enough to have your own main characters, to have your own original characters. And I want to stop right there, because he's exactly right. That is what they're saying. Except, there are black characters in Lord of the Rings. Myself and many others have said, why didn't you just use some of the Harad individuals? You know, people of the Harad race that were dark-skinned. There are dark-skinned characters. Ah, well, it turns out Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, they did. But guess what? They made them white. They literally took the Harad people, Heart of the Dream Spearmaster here, and they made the character white. This is supposed to be a black race. But no, or at least a dark-skinned race. So they literally took black characters, race swapped them to being white. Now, if we were such the racists you want us to be, wouldn't we be happy about this? Wouldn't we be like, oh yeah, more whitey in the game? Dude, this is not cool. We're not happy about this. Why are you race swapping again? Now you're race swapping and making black people white. Guess what? That's equally as bad. I'm not going to say it's worse because all race swapping to me is equally as bad. But my god, I don't want a Harad white dude. I would like this guy to be, quite a bit darker. Maybe like that Eowyn card from earlier. Make her the whitey. But no, because this is just, a minor race of individuals in lore and whatnot that don't come up much in the books and movies. They don't think anyone's going to notice they race swapped them to make them white, or maybe, just maybe, it's because the Harad were traditionally shown as, some of the bad guys in the lore. Well, you can't have the bad guys be black people, so maybe, who knows if they got that nefarious. More likely, it's just people have no idea what they're talking about when making these cards. They don't know the lore. They're just like, oh, right, okay, we need to throw in some Harad stuff for the lore hounds, and they didn't bother checking to see that they were actually race swapping away from black characters. What the hell, WotC? We have to change our superior characters and lend them to you. We have to make cheap knockoffs of the original thing that people have loved for decades. We have to change it to something inferior just to please you, peasant. This is exactly what these companies are doing. They're insulting those groups. And normal people all around the world, they realize it and they reject it. I will always go for originality over some sort of knockoff, he declared. What a based individual. Magic the Gathering previously justified the race swaps with the company's content manager, Adam Styborski, writing in a blog post, the look and the feel for the world, the characters, the weapons, the locations, and the story moments are going to be intimately familiar, yet fresh and relevant for a wider audience. I'm here to tell you, you don't get much a wider audience than Lord of the Rings. How many times do I have to say? It is the most famous fantasy IP in the world. To be the most famous fantasy IP in the world, you have to appeal to a lot of people in the world, which means black people, brown people, Asian people, white people, any other colors that I can't think of off the top of my head. You gotta appeal to all of them if you're gonna be literally numero uno when it comes to popularity in fantasy. So I have to take a guess and say they were already well relevant for about the widest audience there could possibly be. You ain't gonna make Aragorn turn him black and all of a sudden a bunch of new black fans are going to come in and be fans of Lord of the Rings. That's not how it works. People that were black were probably already fans and now they see this character and one of two things happens. Really one of three things. Either they shrug it off, they don't care one way or the other. B, they're disgusted by it because they're smart enough to understand the pandering. Or C, they lose their minds crying about the diversity, about how amazing it is, like that one idiot did in that video he made. And in that case, they probably weren't a real fan to begin with, because if you're a real fan, you will look past skin-deep things like skin color and care about what's on the inside. He added, the folks at Middle-earth Enterprises take their roles as stewards very seriously, and every decision about characters has been made with deep reverence to the original. No, it hasn't. Cyborski then noted the card set followed two guiding principles, diversity and originality. Well, we don't need diversity. We don't need forced diversity. We need lore accuracy. That is what makes certain adaptations. Lore accuracy. You don't go see a comic book movie and then be happy that they changed a bunch of stuff from the comics. You want things to be accurate. As far as originality goes, this ain't original. I mean, there's nothing original about the idea of a race swap. They've been done and done and done over and over in various forms of media. There's nothing original about crossovers either. They've been done in various forms of media. Magic the Gathering has done multiple crossovers, whether it be Godzilla, Street Fighter, The Walking Dead. There's upcoming Hello Kitty and Transformers ones. Like, crossovers are nothing new. Adding diversity is nothing new and original. So what are those guiding principles? How are you holding up on those? He wrote, diversity. The Lord of the Rings is about the different peoples of Middle-earth coming together to fight Sauron, finding strength in their diversity. I mean, yeah, maybe. If you want to really use some pandering lingo, sure, finding strength in their diversity. No, it's about finding strength in what's inside them. They are almost all white, so clearly they're diverse. You're saying they're finding strength in their diversity. Well, then clearly that diversity is not from the skin color, it's from their moral character, the real diversity that matters. So why do you have to belittle a far more important type of diversity in favor of skin-deep lip service, you stupid WotC? Ooh. We want to make this appealing story fresh and relevant to an even wider audience. Again, how is it not fresh and relevant? Tell me how it is not fresh and relevant when it is still the mainstay of the fantasy zeitgeist. He then added, originality. The goal of this is to express the story and set of the Lord of the Rings and cards for Magic the Gathering. Countless prior efforts have printed vivid pictures of this world, but our goal is a modern take on the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. We don't want a modern take. The fact that it's not modern is what we love. It is from a time when we didn't fixate on the nitty-gritty of these dumb, unimportant things, and that's why it left such a lasting impact. That's why it left the legacy it did, because it is literally timeless. If something is timeless, you don't make it modern, because that addresses a time. This won't be modern in 5 years, 10 years, 15, however long it takes. It's not going to be a modern take anymore. It'll be looked back on likely as, no pun intended, the Dark Ages. Lovingly crafted for a new generation of players and fans. Yeah, oh yeah, whoopee, I'm so sure. One of the card's set designers, Justice Geetus, a self-proclaimed queer trans writer, oh, you know that their works have got to be gold. It's just Pulitzer-winning awards, right? Noted, my main contribution to this contemporary reimagining of the Lord of the Rings was to consistently push for a diverse Middle-earth setting and that stayed true to the Tolkien text. I guided continuity and lore checks. Really? You got continuity and lore checks? You must, you called in sick the day when they were going over the skin colors of the Harad people then, didn't you, Justice? Focus on character and society details, and applied primary source material to our work. Oh, right, you applied the primary source material. Where in the primary source material does it talk about Aragorn being black? What do you think of the latest defense of the race swapping of Tolkien's iconic characters? Well, I'll tell you what I think, guys. I think they fucked up, and I think they know they fucked up, and now they're doing anything and everything they can to try and backpedal to get individuals like me, people who are usually ardent Magic the Gathering supporters. Well, maybe people like me is a bad example considering I've been boycotting them for the last 2.5 years, but, you know, people less like me, people who usually love Magic the Gathering, even people like that are starting to walk this back and be like, I don't know about this, I'm really not feeling it considering all the very obvious pandering you're doing. Like, is this set gonna lose money? No, it's a Lord of the Rings crossover. This thing is gonna make bank. No amount of boycotting, as much as I hate to admit it, is going to do jack. Now, that being said, try anyway. Join your boy Leon here. Let's absolutely try to make sure this makes no money. But in the grand scheme of things, if we're being realistic, probably not gonna go anywhere. I mean, the boycott of Hogwarts Legacy didn't go anywhere, and Magic the Gathering and Lord of the Rings specifically, quite a bit bigger than Harry Potter. So, yeah, at the end of the day, Wizards knows they have to double down, because if they don't double down, they go the route that Bud Light or Target went, and that's just going to be even worse for them, because they'll start losing money from both sides. So from a business standpoint, technically what they're doing makes sense. Doesn't mean that it's still not a bad decision, though, or worth criticizing, but those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments below, or let me know on Twitter, where you can find me at BoltTheWord. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day, not always about Magic the Gathering, but anime, video games, movies, you name it, it's all here in the nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.